So we will go ahead and get started. Again, thank you for joining today's webinar. It's on data backup and disaster recovery services. I'll be joined here by Asa Hensley. He's kind of our subject matter expert and partner with this solution. And just real quick, some of you are very familiar with Powernet, some others maybe not so much. We'll just run through this quickly. So we're going on 30 years here at Powernet. Some of you may know us as P&G or Powernet Global. And so we've been in the telecom space our entire existence, really been channel focused our entire existence. And we started as a switchless reseller, selling to residential customers at our inception. And as we've evolved throughout the years, really expanded beyond voice to cover a wide range of technology solutions, and also really targeting, instead of residential, small to medium-sized businesses and enterprise customers. We are headquartered here in Cincinnati, Ohio, with a few different offices throughout the country. We have a 24/7 US-based network operations center. We have one here at headquarters in Cincinnati. We also have another one in Florida. This is kind of the channel solutions team, the strategic alliances team. So if you don't know Dan or Tyler or Chris, now would be a good time this week or today after this call to set up a time to talk with them, because they're really your first contact point for learning more about Powernet or to bring opportunities that you think may be a good fit. So I know most of you probably know one of these guys, but if not, you can kind of see where their territories are. So just reach out to them, get connected. We'll also be at the channel partners in Las Vegas, so it'll be a good time as well to kind of set aside a time to meet with them there. So I support Dan, Tyler, and Chris, and then our executive team over on the right, Penny, is kind of head of strategic alliances team, and Jill really manages kind of the soup to nuts provisioning teams, support teams, and Chris, who's based out of Puerto Rico, really supports our engineering staff. And we are primarily, from an employee count standpoint, most of our employees are engineers. So because of all the different technology we've brought in, it's important to have that support for you there. Just real quickly, across the top, this is kind of a reasonably good snapshot of what we can do for your clients. Of course, all these are bundled in one single invoice with that 24/7 network operations center supporting it. So it really provides a compelling solution, a cohesive solution for your clients. We can bring in multiple products and really cover them across the board from a technology perspective. Doesn't include all of our products, but it's a good snapshot of what we can do. And then as far as industries we serve, that's just a few, obviously not exhaustive, but we've seen a lot of great growth in these particular vertical markets. So for today's webinar, data backup and disaster recovery. Obviously, data has become extremely important for a lot of different businesses and enterprises, so whether that be customer information, internal processes, you name it. There's just all sorts of data out there that companies rely on to do day-to-day business and to succeed. So it's very important that data is secure and also completely backed up. So that's really where this product fits in very well with our managed services offerings. And so today, our partner ASA is going to go through, what is the data backup and disaster recovery, kind of understand why it's important, how this solution is a little bit different than some others they may be coming across, who needs them. So target customers, what type of customers you can be looking for. Just in a general sense, the target customer is anyone who's collecting data electronically and relies on it to do business. And then we'll go over a little bit of how to talk through some questions to ask to find out if there's a potential opportunity. So at this point, I will turn it over to Asa for the meat of the presentation. I'll come back in at the end to talk about a few things specific to sales and how the channel can approach these clients, and we'll just go from there. So thank you, Asa.
Thank you very much. I hope everybody's having a great Tuesday and their week is off and going. So my name again is Asa Hensley. I am with Zimcom or OneCloud Services, and we are excited to be working with Powernet and all of you with new offerings, and I will see you down at IT Expo if you come out and join. So data protection and why is it critical? Business this day comes down to two things: people and information. And if you have the right information backed up to the right places, people, it's sad to say, are kind of the exchangeable option. Data isn't. The best way to start the conversation with somebody about data is to bring up security, because it's a big buzzword. Everybody is talking about security in the IT industry, but nobody really knows what it means. Or is it software that you're selling that it does security? Is it a firewall that does security? What is your safety net? Having proper backups and a disaster recovery plan protects you against things like CryptoLocker, ransomware, phishing attacks. And I was reading an interesting article over the last couple of days that 2020, the biggest threat is going to be insider threats are going to be the weak spot, the chink in the armor that the businesses are going to feel the most exposure. And that could be from anybody clicking on an email link because they want a $10 coupon to Target, to plugging in a USB drive from outside of the office, anything like that. So having proper backups, if we want to go to the next slide here, having proper backups is a copy of whatever you think, the business owner thinks, is the important data that they need to keep the business going. So that can be Office 365, physical servers. It could be other servers that are hosted in the cloud. It could be QuickBooks, virtual servers, anything that you need another copy of that data. So taking that and taking that away from that environment that it's currently on and having another copy is a backup. Verification that you have a clean copy of that data that can be rehydrated or booted, whatever vernacular you want to use, to be spun up either on another server locally or into a cloud environment is very important. And then recovery time, how fast can you recover if you do have an incident? Okay, types of backup. So you have local backup, which the interesting statistic that I always see and read and hear and run into myself is 50% of businesses have a local backup but no verification that it's working. So that's just another device on their network that might be collecting some data. But if anything happens to that local backup, which if a local event happens, from a leaky roof to a power surge to a flood, a fire, or some of the fun ones that I've seen, like somebody had a forklift spear their server room and stab into one of their servers. It can, anything local, if it hits one of them, it's probably going to hit the other one of them. So that local backup is very vulnerable and isn't the best way to protect your business. Offsite backups is taking a copy of that data. And I've heard interesting stories from the IT manager, the IT director, the owner, the office admin. Someone just makes a copy each night, and then they take that home with them. So they take all of the pertinent information for that business and they take it home with them. It's not encrypted. It's not in an encrypted format. It's just on a NAS device or something like that, and they're taking that with them. So if their car gets stolen, their house gets broken into, anything like that, that business is exposed. And then the other type of backup is taking your backup and sending it to a cloud repository, and then you have to verify that it is a clean copy. But as long as you have it in the cloud, you should be able to get it back down, or somehow get it into operational form in the cloud. And those are your three different types of backups. In the IT industry, the best practice for backups is having 3 copies of your data, one on your live array, one on a local appliance, and then one in the cloud. So disaster recovery versus backup. So backup, we've established, is just a copy of your data. Disaster recovery is being able to take that data in a predetermined time and spin it up to a working environment to which your business can run from. So that is one of the big differences in the offering that we're going to have versus anybody else that is offering disaster recovery and backup with Veeam. Anybody can go out and buy Veeam. You can download the free trial software. You can get Veeam a lot of different places. But when you partner with us to do a Veeam deployment, we are going to take that data and we're going to put it on what's called a bootable format drive or hard drive or array. And what that means is if there is an incident or anything that happens and you need that spun up to an actual environment, all we have to do is put CPU and RAM to it, a little bit of networking, and then the customer's off and running. Usually we can accomplish that in about 4 hours. If you did a comparison of that versus AWS or Azure, I have friends that are AWS, Azure engineers, and they don't even know how to take it from a backup format and put it into a actual working format on AWS or Azure. It's very difficult to do. I've been told typical timeline with it is about a week. You can also, with AWS and Azure, get your data back to a local appliance, but they charge you per gigabyte to get that data back. And if you have terabytes worth of data, you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars. Our service is going to have no egress charges with it as well. So if you did want to get the data sent back to you via the internet circuit, then you can do so, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. Okay, back to the 3-2-1 that we were talking about. So if you look on the graph that we have here in the bottom, middle left, things that you should keep a backup of, or at least think about, and it's going to be different for every business, but Office 365. Businesses are going to have physical servers, virtual servers, NAS devices, desktops, and then virtual environments like Hyper-V and VMware. So that's the production environment, and then they have their production storage that goes along with it. Our deployment will have a local Veeam server or data repository. So if anything happens to the data that is on the primary storage array, you can move those files at either file or block level back and restore from there. And then we set up nightly backups or daily backups, depending on how much bandwidth there is, to send out to our cloud. And we keep those and we set them up depending on the industry for however long they need data retention for. And if an issue arises, we can, again, either send the data back via the internet or they can spin it up to the cloud. How does Veeam compare? Veeam versus the competition. Veeam is kind of the one-stop shop when it comes to disaster recovery and backup. There's a lot of different softwares out there, and some do virtual environments, some only do physical environments, some only do cloud environments. Veeam is the end all be all. They cover all environments, and they're the largest software company. They're about $5 billion right now in comparison to the competition out there. So the competition, typically they only have a couple of different options for you. Uh, you Vendor lock, so who you buy it from is who the licensing is, and you're stuck with them servicing it. And then increased licensing costs over time. So when I first started in this industry 5+ years ago, you could back up data and it was just a data charge. Now there's a charge and a license and a 10% increase year over year, plus managed service fees, plus data rates, and it just keeps going up and up. Pardon me, gonna get a little sip of water. Most of the SMB and up into the enterprise businesses are going to tell you that when you ask them what's your cloud position, they're going to tell you that they're slowing that down because they don't have a good backup policy or a good it didn't work, what do I do? So all of our backup and disaster recovery customers that are looking at migrating to the cloud have that I don't know, safety net of if anything were to happen, we could restore it and just hydrate it to the cloud or fail it back over. A lot of companies haven't figured out how to set up that safety net and be able to do that, but about 66% of those of businesses out there will admit that. 60% of the SMB businesses out there are going to experience some type of cyber attack this year. And again, that could be ransomware, that could be phishing, that could be an internal thing, that could be malware. And then there was another type of ransomware that they have out there that is, it's called targeted ransomware, where people are going after specific businesses because they have a grudge or something like that, and putting CryptoLocker on their arrays, and then not giving them an option to buy the magic key or whatever to unlock the data. And then the businesses are, kind of stuck. You don't have any of your data. You don't know who you owe money, who owes you money, and they end up going out of business. So that is the biggest opportunity that for security risks in 2020. On the enterprise side, we all a few years ago experienced what happened at Target and them getting hacked. And on the enterprise side, if they do have a cyber attack or occurrence, the average cost is about $21.8 million. Now in the SMB area, the estimate is $5,000 to $20,000 per hour for downtime. And that's going to include your labor costs during that time, your lost business, your lost production, and then your reputation. So if a local business gets hacked and everybody loses their information, customers typically don't go back to that business. So why is data backup so important? So backup and archive, depending on your industry, your financial, insurance, and medical industry, they have to keep copies of all of their records for 7 years or they can be fined. But when it comes down to it, again, like I said earlier, when your information and your data is the most critical part of your business, and being able to have a planned recovery when you have, and it's not if, it's when you have an occurrence is the most important thing. Cyber attacks are going to happen. Natural disasters are going to happen. Power surges, power outages, all of these things are going to happen. But how are you going to recover? What plan do you have in place? And are you ready? So who needs cloud backup and disaster recovery services. Our company started in Michigan, so we're big into the manufacturing and aerospace industry. Assisted living, again, that falls under your medical, local government and education. We have police departments that we back up their chest cams for them, retail locations. We have a couple of different chains of movie theaters that we work with, healthcare, we already talked about that. Airports, the amount of data that they have to back up it's amazing. And then banking and finance. All of those industries have certain specific requirements that they need to retain their data, and we can help you get in with those businesses and build some income off of that by providing backup and disaster recovery services.
Great, thank you, Asa. I really appreciate it. And just so everybody on the call knows, if you identify an opportunity and we talk through that with your channel manager, Dan, Chris, or Tyler, Asa is available to jump on a call with the client, start asking the questions we need to ask. So we'll really lean on us and our engineering and partners like Asa, and we can kind of do the heavy lifting as far as putting a good solution in place for the client. As he said, data is extremely important, so it has to be available in the event of a downtime or in the event of a event, whether that be a cyber attack or a flood or fire, things like that. So, and then of course, businesses experiencing consistent downtime. Downtime is dollars. So. Really looking to have that data available regardless of their up-down time on that. So, and then a lot of companies are still using some legacy storage products, and so they may not even know what they're paying for, may be overpaying, and then certain locations throughout the country are prone to tornadoes, floods, hurricanes, of course, eastern seaboard and Florida on that front. So really having a strong backup and disaster recovery posture in place is going to allow them to continue to do business in the event that their servers get swamped or something of that nature. And then, of course, you have all the compliance with the various industries, as you said, the banking and finance and HIPAA for healthcare. There's audits all around that compliance. So auditors will come out and find out, where are you backing up your data? How are you backing it up? How easily accessible is it? So those are some areas you can work with your clients and make sure that they have a good plan in place. And then the typical types of people within organizations that you'll be looking to talk to are there on the left. And so if your contact is not within those particular job descriptions, then you could ask your contact for an introduction, just to have a quick conversation around data backup and disaster recovery to see if there's a good fit there. And then some of the key words, obviously being in the technology industry, we have so many acronyms and buzzwords and technical terms. A lot of these folks won't know that, so they may use other words, business continuity, and that's really the key thing is listen, if something happens at your office, what is your plan to have your data available? And sometimes just a simple question like that can really open up the conversation and say, listen, if something happens here, you have to be able to continue to do business, and that can resonate with those businesses to make sure they stay up. Here, just some general questions. What are they doing today to back up their environment? So a lot of times they will have some of those local backups in place. Maybe they don't. So you may have a client that really is not doing anything from a backup standpoint, and obviously we can help them there. folks that are doing local backups. Asa talked about some of the pitfalls there. If you've got a server closet and that building has issues or an event, and that server closet gets breached for some way, your data is just not available anymore. So talking with them about offsite and cloud backups and disaster recovery, could open up their eyes a little bit to what's available. So, perhaps they've had an issue where they've been down before. What was that experience like? Were they able to quantify that experience in dollars? And what I think you'll see if we do a proposal for a Veeam solution for you is that we can really show that it's much easier to put a strong, cohesive posture of disaster recovery and backup in place versus reacting to something that happens. So you really want to be prepared, and it's typically that preparation is going to cost you a lot less than being down and scrambling around and trying to figure out how to continue to do business. So just, Powernet we've been channel focused our entire existence. We're really here to support you in client conversations. Like I said, we'll get ASA involved, and really, we're not looking to make experts out of you guys on disaster recovery and data backup. It's really just a matter of asking a couple simple questions to identify a potential for an opportunity, and just let's work together to get that client on the phone and just talk through and find out if it's a good fit. If it's not, we won't waste anybody's time. But if it is something that works well within our product suite, works well within the Veeam solution, let's go down that road and see if we can help them be proactive on the data backup side. And that goes for all of our products, really. If you're on this call and it's been valuable to you, and you want to dive deeper into this particular product, or if you want to dive deeper into any of our products, we are always available. Just again, reach out to Dan, Chris, or Tyler. They'll get that going. They'll get the right people involved, and let's dive deeper into any particular products that may have interest to you on the Powernet side. For those who are on the call today, we are offering your clients a free 30-day trial. If they go beyond that 30 days and end up signing up with a disaster recovery and backup solution, we're offering free a $50 gift card, just because we appreciate you, taking the time, spending 35, 45 minutes and learning more about Powernet. So I know everybody's busy, but it's great that you've decided to join us today. So we appreciate that. So now we'll go ahead and open it up for any questions that may have come up over the course of the webinar. And let's just go ahead and unmute. And so if you had any questions, anything that popped up, feel free to just open it up and we can help you.
Well, one thing would be just in general pricing, but more than that is a lot of what you discussed has, I guess, third-party underlying providers. So how would it kind of stack up as working with those providers direct? And I know, we may not have access to it, and there's a lot that you bring together, especially in support and just general convergence. But, it's going to be a question of the customer. If the first thing we do is we engage them and then we kind of bring in a third-party carrier coming in as, so-and-so on behalf of Powernet, that's going to be the first question that they're going to ask. Like, what is Powernet adding to the solution if it's really somebody else's product?
Really, yeah, it's a good question. It really does come down to the team and the people and the support that they get directly through Powernet. Again, we manage their entire technology solution, and so it's really, and that's what we've always kind of sold on is that full solution, is that after the sales support our 24/7 US-based NOC, and really just a different experience than what they may typically be used to. And then we have volume, because of our carrier partners and our other partners, we have large volume. So a client that maybe is a little bit on the smaller side is going to get a different level of support at that end company than they would with PowerNet. So they may not they may just go to a queue, an 800 queue, and get passed around. Whereas with PowerNet, we have a complete support team to handle each and every customer.
If you want to, I can touch on that a little bit, just to set everybody at ease a little bit. So currently we have about 25,000 servers or endpoints that we're backing up on a nightly basis. That makes us the Midwest's biggest provisioner of Veeam. And the reason that I point that out is not, hey, we're the coolest guys in the block or anything like that. It's to speak to that volume level discount. I don't think that anybody else out there is going to be able to be competitive in price of what PowerNet has in store for you and your customers. And then the expertise on how it's configured and provisioned. I've been working for my company for about 2.5 years, and no other cloud provider, MSP, data repository provides backup on a bootable format array. Typically on our end, it's about 3 to 4 times more expensive to store the data that way. But we have 3 data centers with petabytes worth of data open, so it doesn't really cost us anything more to do it because we already have it open. So that bootable format array gives the customer the ability to just, hey, something happened. Now all we have to do is configure CPU and RAM. Now the business is back up and running, in comparison to a multi-day, person experience of trying to get your data back from somewhere, buying a new server, reconfiguring a server, doing all of those things, when you can just egress it back and it's already in format ready to go, or you can spin it to the cloud because it's in format and ready to go.